Like always, we're going to take a look at the Dynasty trade market to see what values we can find to capitalize on. We're going to cover 3 running backs. One's going to be really high in ADP, other one's going to be somewhere in the middle, and the other one's going to be a dirt cheap value according to DOF's December ADP. And what we're going to do here is we're going to cover 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers every week, a different video for each position. And if there's a player you want me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video, so you can see the guys that I'm talking about here, so you're caught up on the latest player values. But let's get this started. The first running back we're going to talk about today is very expensive in Dynasty, probably one of the most expensive players in all of fantasy sports, and we're talking about Jonathan Taylor, running back of the Colts. December ADP has him as the RB1 and the 3rd player drafted overall. He turns 24 in about 10 days, depending on when you're watching this video, but in about 10 days, he turns 24 years old. This season, he has 861 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's caught 28 balls for 143 yards. He's averaging 3.08 yards after contact per attempt and is averaging 7.5 yards after the catch per reception. He has 4 RB1 weeks and 3 RB2 weeks. He's been placed on injured reserve due to the ankle injury, which caused him to miss a slew of games. But what the market is saying about Jonathan Taylor right now is that he's still very expensive, even though he's kind of had a down year due to injury, but he has been productive, and he's very expensive on the market still because everybody wants that young, productive running back. Taylor, on the trade market, we're seeing him traded for Austin Eckler in a second. Another trade is him for Christian McCaffrey straight up. Another one, Brian Robinson, Drake London, a 2023 first, a 2024 first. So think about it this way: a mid-round pick in last year's draft, a first-round pick in last year's draft, a 2023 first, and a 2024 first. That's a haul for him. Taylor for Breece Hall, who is expensive, and Romeo Doubs. Taylor for 2 2023 firsts, a 2023 second, and also a 2024 first. So 3 first-round picks and a second in that deal. Taylor for Trevor Lawrence in Superflex. That's a major trade in that format. Taylor for Kyle Pitts. Both players are very expensive in Dynasty. Taylor for 2 2023 firsts. I think that's a deal considering what we've been seeing. Right now, he's a player to kick the tires on, even though the price is high, because there are a lot of people who are devaluing the running back position. We've been talking about the running back reset and how running backs are just going to start flipping on their heads and the values are going to change rapidly in the next year or so. So a lot of people are already pricing that in their player values. Not everybody, but some people are. So if you kick the tires, you get to gauge the price in your league or in your multiple leagues or however many leagues you're playing in. Kick the tires if you're interested in. See if there's a discount due to that. Whenever you have an asset in the top 5, he's going to be expensive. Expensive players are always players that you can always sell if you want a windfall of assets to help rebuild, retool, or if you're good and you just want more assets, more wide receivers, or you need to get stronger at another position. That is something you can always do with a top 5 player. That is a chip that you can just always cash in and unload. And as long as you get a good comeback, it's not going to hurt you, even if that player is productive for years afterwards. They just bring a lot in return, and you want to capitalize on it. If you just sell just to sell, you might be hurting. You might have some seller's remorse due to that, but it's just dependent on your personal scenario in your league, because some guys want to hold him forever, which I could see that. I could see him being productive for a long time. I can also see him not, since he's a running back. Running backs get hurt. Also, the fluidity of value in running backs are going to be changing, and you may want to. It really depends on your preference here. I don't think there's a perfect time to sell him. Probably the best might be right before the season, because he's just had an injury-riddled season here. We're going into the off season. People are going to look back at the rosters. They're going to be looking at the younger guys coming in, and they're going to start looking at him with more value right before the season starts, because he will provide an impact for your lineups then, and I can see that giving him an increase in his dynasty value due to that. Selling wise, you can always sell him. As long as he's got this value, you just flip him, but you don't have to. He's not a sell per se. He's just a guy with a lot of value, and you can always cash in that chip. You just have this gold chip in your pocket, and you can load it whenever you want, but you don't want to hold on too long. It's also a good thing to know that you'd rather sell a year too early than a year too late. So you want to think about that as his career turns on while you got him on your roster. But right now, you can get a windfall of picks and players, and that's something you want to capitalize on if you need to retool, rebuild, or you're in a middle-of-the-road team. But you can also hold him as well, because I think he's going to be good for a while. But you got a lot of options here with Jonathan Taylor. But if you're going to buy him, you're going to have to pay up. You're going to have to save up and get him. Save up some picks. It's probably going to take 3 first-rounders, maybe 3 first-rounders and a little something-something. Maybe if you're lucky, like that one dude, 2 first-rounders, probably 2 first-rounders and a little something-something and a little more. Who knows? But kick the tires and see what comes back at you. And the worst thing that could happen is you just walk away from the trade, and guess what? At least you attempted it, and you don't have to worry about it. The next running back we're going to talk about is middle of the road-ish, maybe a little bit lower on the spectrum, but I figured we'd talk about him today, as we're going to be talking about all the running backs anyways, and that's Elijah Mitchell for the 49ers. December ADP has him drafted as 152nd player overall, RB52. Missed a lot of the season due to a knee injury. Turns 25 in May, so he's not a young buck anymore. That's pretty old in running back terms. He's starting to hit that apex where Dynasty gamers are starting to devalue him just due to the age alone, not the other stuff, but the other stuff as well. He appeared in just 4 games this year, rushed for 224 yards, 3.28 yards after contact per attempt, 5.6 yards per carry, 3 catches on 3 targets on the whole season, well, in 4 games. Christian McCaffrey's the lead dog there. They're going to pound the rock with him. Not good for a former 6th round pick. He's very liquid here. He can be flipped out at any time. Here's what the market is saying about him. Mitchell for Teddy Bridgewater and Malik Davis and also Zach Moss. Mitchell straight up for Kadarius Toney. Mitchell for 2nd round picks. And this is for multiple occasions. So Mitchell for a second is what we're seeing a lot on the trade market. Multiple times. The price is just going to drive down through the offseason. It's just going to decrease. People are going to look at Christian McCaffrey. They're going to start looking at Mitchell's age. They're going to see that he turned 25 years old. They're going to look at the injury-riddled season. They're going to remember that he's a 6th round pick. Day 3 prospects don't really last that long as top-tier players or productive players. So a lot of things are going to happen that will drive down his value. I think seeing him traded for 2nd round picks is too rich for my blood. I'd rather get 3rds and 4ths for him. If that much, I feel like he's very risky considering his age, his situation, late round pick. He does have some juice in his step, but it's very risky to make the investment. So I do want him as cheap as possible. I do want him as a player that is pretty much free. I want him pretty much free in my leagues. If I feel like I'm paying, if I got to think about it all, I am not making that deal. I feel like the rookie draft time is the best time to go after him. There's not a good time to sell him right now. The value is depreciating. Probably in season when he was coming back from that injury, when there was some possibilities of him just producing some good runs off and on, spelling McCaffrey, that could have been your window. But right now you're just going to have to wait. You're going to have to hold. Or you sell him in a package in a much larger deal to move up for a better player. The other player in that deal that you're trading is the lucrative piece, and he is just an addition to that trade. So that's something you could do. Or you can flip him for a 3rd, 4th, or if you're lucky, like one of those other dudes at 2nds, and be able to just get another guy off waivers, fill that spot. Maybe that guy's just as productive, or give you 80 to 90% of the production, and you got that 3rd, 4th round rookie pick. Whatever value is going on in your league, and you can get that rookie, and then you got that waiver wire guy that can probably get you some production as well. Now it's time for our 3rd running back today, and this guy's ADP is very interesting here considering how productive he was later in the season. It was early December, so probably not everybody was caught on yet, and now it's probably going to rise in January and February because that production won people fantasy leagues. I'm talking about Jerick McKinnon of the Chiefs. He had an ADP of 192nd overall, RB 62. He turns 31 in May, 3 RB1 weeks, 5 RB2 weeks, very productive. 284 rushing yards, but caught 53 balls for 513 yards, scored a lot of touchdowns. He's a league winner off the waiver wire this year. The price went up significantly. McKinnon for Tanu Gibson, a second and a third. McKinnon for a second. We see a ton of trades like that. McKinnon for a third. We've seen a few trades like that. McKinnon for Kareem Hunt. McKinnon for Jalen Warren. McKinnon for Donovan Peoples-Jones. McKinnon for Darnell Mooney. McKinnon for 2/3. So I want to tell you something about a player that rises in value that is becoming valuable, but you think the price is getting up there, but in some leagues, they get sold as a discount because you know what? That manager has that player, and they're like, I can finally unload him. Let's sell him for Jalen Warren. Let's sell him for Kareem Hunt. Let's sell him for Donovan Peoples-Jones. Then on the opposite side of the spectrum, you can get big trades out of that player. Antonio Gibson, second and third. Second-round rookie picks. Anything else, really. You'll get both sides of the spectrum when a player becomes a sell. You'll get guys selling just to get rid of them because they've never been a sell before, and now they can move the asset. Or you got guys who are going to maximize that value. Someone wants to pay up so they can get the production now, and they will unload some assets. So you will get both sides of the spectrum here. We should expect his price to drive down during the offseason, and you might be able to buy him this summer, especially if something happens with the depth chart. And he's also 31 years old, older running back. You don't have longevity with this guy. You got short-term production if you get any more production, because it's always a risk with these older running backs. Another thing is there's not a good time to really sell. I don't think the price is going to stay like this. If you're going to sell and you want to sell, you better do it soon. Should have done it a few weeks ago if you could have. But if your league opens up late or something, you don't have an open trade market throughout the whole season, then you might have to wait and see what you get, kick the tires, and maybe just hold throughout the off season. But a second-round pick seems like the sweet spot to get the deal done. If you don't want to pay that, don't pay that. And that price might drive down during the offseason, especially when we get the rookie draft time. Because you know what? I'm not paying my seconds when I'm looking at these running backs in this class. I'm looking at a 31-year-old running back here. I'm not paying that. So obviously that's going to drive down. Late second, early third, mid third, early fourth. It's going to drive down because we're going to look at these players in this draft and we're like, I'm not trading for this 31-year-old running back when I can get this 20, 21, 22-year-old running back here with second-round draft capital, early third-round draft capital, and could be getting a good situation, tested decent at the combine. I'm going to take my shot on that. Then this 31-year-old running back that might be losing their spot on the roster, or something's going to happen, or I may not have him next year or year after because he is an older running back. All these possibilities that could go negative on us with the bottom falling out, that could hurt our roster if I deal this second-round rookie pick for this older asset, unless I absolutely need the production now. But that price is going to drive down. I don't see the market not saying, hey, this is overpriced, let's drive this down. I think a second-round pick is a reflection of in-season playoffs of guys getting through, and they're trying to make it to their championship game, so they're paying up, making sure they get that player, and the manager's just taking advantage of that. I see that price driving down. The time to sell was a few weeks ago. Now that price is going to regress. The best time to sell was a few weeks ago. In season, if you're lucky, if the depth chart goes unscathed, you might be able to unload him right before the season to get that production boost when it comes to his value. But it's very tricky here. It's very tricky. He's also be coming from an offseason where his value has been lower. It'll probably never get this high again unless he comes back next year and continues the production. But right now, the value is hot. Those are 3 running backs that we're looking at in Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're looking at the trade market. We're looking at how they're going in trades. These are from myfantasyleague.com and been calibrated from dynastyleaguefootball.com off their trade finder. Let me know if there's any players that you're interested in me covering for you guys. Drop that in the comments below. Also, hit that subscribe button on the way out. So I'm going to help you going forward with your Dynasty teams, rookie drafts, and everything else. I want to thank you for watching.